If you enjoy this video, please remember to like and subscribe, and if you would like to support the channel on Patreon or PayPal, the links are listed below. Time travel, the notion that we can travel in a time machine, back to the past or into the future, has been explored countless times on television and film, and all ask the age-old question, can we go back and change the past to improve the future? Like, for example, kill Hitler to prevent countless atrocities, or prevent John F. Kennedy from being assassinated. Or will it in some way create a paradox and have serious repercussions to our very fabric of existence? In one of the best time travel episodes, titled The Man Who Was Never Born, featured in the science fiction anthology series The Outer Limits, this very subject is explored, whether we can change one event in the past to save mankind in the future. As explored in the movie Back to the Future, teenager Marty McFly travels from 1985 back to 1955. He prevents a series of events, changing the past, preventing his parents from meeting, which could have him erased from existence. And as we all know, he eventually gets his parents together, and all is right with the world. There is also that notion that we can actually improve things in the past and make future events better. In Back to the Future, Marty McFly teaches his young father, George McFly, to stand up for himself, ultimately helping his dad to become more confident and successful in the future, which actually improves Marty's future life due to his father's accomplishments and success. This would be the more optimistic way of looking at time travel, that you can change things for the better. But in reality, changing events could have serious ramifications. In the episode The Man Who Was Never Born, we see astronaut Joseph Reardon from 1961 travel into the future in his spaceship, landing on a barren, desolate Earth in the year 2148. He meets a hideous-looking mutant named Andro, who tells him that he is one of the survivors of a biological disaster which was caused by a plague which has infected and wiped out most of mankind, turning the remaining humans into mutants. Andro explains that a scientist in the 1960s named Bertram Cabot Jr. developed a viral symbiont from an interstellar microbe which has caused this mutation of the human race, stopping them from reproducing, which will eventually wipe out any evidence of the human race. Reardon tells Andro that there is hope, that he can take him back in time to 1963 to show others what will happen to the future race. They travel back in time. Unfortunately, the journey through the rift causes Reardon to slowly die and disappear. Before he dies, he tells Andro that he has to prevent Cabot Jr. from ever being born. After landing on Earth, Andro uses his psychic abilities, which makes people see him as a normal-looking man, hiding his mutant form. Andro meets the father of Bertram Cabot Jr. and tries to convince him to not marry the beautiful Noelle. He ends up almost shooting Cabot Sr., but hesitates, and his true appearance is revealed. While on the run, Andro explains his mission to Noelle, who seems to trust Andro, immediately not caring about his appearance, and confesses that she has fallen in love with him. She asks Andro to take her into the future to avoid any chance of her having a son. Unfortunately, as they arrive into the future, Andro disappears, leaving poor Noelle alone in the future. The Man Who Was Never Born is the first of the time travel episodes of The Outer Limits. The story, originally titled Cry of the Unborn, was written by Anthony Lawrence. Lawrence began his career as an actor in the 50s, before becoming a screenwriter in the 1960s, writing for a number of popular television shows, including Hawaii Five-0, Rat Patrol, and Bonanza. He once remarked that the main focus of his writing was in looking deeply into relationships and character. As far as science fiction, he worked on 2 episodes of The Outer Limits, The Man Who Was Never Born, and the episode The Children of Spider County. In the 1970s, he worked on a number of shows, including the episode titled A Fallen God on the short-lived Planet of the Apes series in 1973. During the 1980s, he created and worked on the sci-fi series The Phoenix in 1982 and on the 80s revival series of The Twilight Zone. In writing the episode The Man Who Was Never Born, he was inspired by the French film version of the classic story of Beauty and the Beast, titled La Belle et la Bête. He explained that he had this idea in his mind of a kind of Beauty and the Beast idea, and he liked romantic stories, and this was his chance to do something that he really didn't get to do often. Joseph Stefano, a writer and producer on The Outer Limits, who was famously known for adapting Robert Bloch's novel as the script for Alfred Hitchcock's film Psycho, loved the idea. The plot for The Man Who Was Never Born was very similar in many ways to the 1995 sci-fi film 12 Monkeys, in which the protagonist travels back in time to prevent a biological holocaust that has destroyed mankind in his time. This plot is also very similar to the 1990s Outer Limits episode Patient Zero, where a future soldier travels back in time to prevent a deadly virus from wiping out mankind. Leonard Horn, known for directing various television episodes in the 1960s and the 1970s, was hired to direct. He would also direct 2 more Outer Limits episodes, titled Zanti Misfits and The Children of Spider County. Adventure and science fiction was among his most successful genres, with him directing the Lost in Space episode Invaders from the Fifth Dimension, and the premiere episode of the series Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Martin Landau was cast as Professor Andro, the mutant man from the future, whose entire understanding of the past is based on literature. Interesting to note that the character's name, Andro, in Greek stands for man.
Fred Phillips, who did the ears for Dr. Spock on Star Trek, he devised a mask because I was in the same set as myself.
Thank you for your kindness.
And as Andro, the monster. And we had gloves that turned my hands into those gnarled fingers.
Shirley Knight co-stars as Noelle Anderson, who is a woman torn between 2 men. Knight, 5 years earlier, was actually a student of Landau's in his acting class. Cal Held, sometimes credited as Christopher Held, plays Captain Joseph Reardon and appeared on a number of television shows: The Big Valley, The Fugitive, Daktari, Star Trek, The Invaders, and Space 1999, which he co-starred again with Martin Landau. John Considine plays Bertram Cabot Sr. The Man Who Was Never Born was shot mainly on the MGM backlot.
And how did the cameraman film the climactic chase scene?
He would lie on his back with the camera in his chest and would be pulled through the backlot forest.
Interesting to note that the library in the future world was actually the same set used in the Star Trek Original Series episode All Our Yesterdays. The final scene of the episode was unfortunately cut due to timing reasons. The scene was going to follow after Noelle is left alone on the spaceship, after Andro vanishes, and feature Noelle waking up from a dream on a grassy bank, calling out to Andro, while a man passing by is riding on an air car. The Man Who Was Never Born first aired on October the 28th of 1963 and was episode 6 of the first season of The Outer Limits. The Man Who Was Never Born is one of the best Outer Limits episodes. It's also one of the best time travel episodes. The episode also features a wonderful music score by Dominique Frontier, who was a regular composer for the series. For me, personally, as a sci-fi fan, the 1960s was the golden era of science fiction television. My name's Jonathan. Thanks for watching.